are going to talk today about giving. So, obviously today we're planning on giving to the Hope Program in Afghanistan and the work that's out there. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about giving in general and what it means for us and our attitudes and our hearts and how easy it can be or how hard it can be. So I thought I'd talk about giving and talk about giving to different things. I thought I'd do it in order of difficulty. Starting easy, getting harder. A bit like a game. I like my little computer games. I like playing my games on the tube. I like going for the levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, boss levels, and I like beating them. So, I thought sometimes it's easier to give in some areas than others, and I thought we'd take through those levels today. Just a quick question to you all. What do you think is the enemy of giving? Not the opposite, the enemy. Kate? Selfishness. Absolutely, that's a good answer. Any other answers we have here? Sorry? Fear. Okay, yeah, great answer. Okay, again? Self-centered, absolutely. Great answer. Okay, so absolutely. So taking, selfishness, self-centeredness. Oh, another one from Kate.
Kate's just listing my qualities, it's okay.
For the benefit of the recording, Barry is saying that Kate is listing Barry's qualities. Fear, yes, we talked that one. There we are. Oh, there we are. I think another one that I was thinking this through, and I think actually a real enemy of giving is actually apathy. Okay. Doing nothing is worse than doing something that's right.
I think discontentedness.
Okay, interesting.
You're content.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so discontentedness is another thing as well. Okay, interesting. So, let's go on this. Oh, Simon?
Not feeling compelled to give.
Not feeling compelled to give. Okay, so you're not feeling the need to give. Okay.
Somebody's, captures your heart,
Yeah.
and then you want to give.
So nobody capturing your heart to give. Well, that's great because that's my job today for this sermon. So moving on. So giving. Level 1, giving to the poor and needy. Now, why have I made this the easiest thing to put up? Why have I said that? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a show of hands. Anybody who doesn't think we should give to the poor, put your hands up. Yeah, okay. Oh, Asagi is playing devil's advocate. Sorry, it depends on why. That's a really good point there, Asagi. But I think, in general, if somebody said there is a person with genuine need, there's a person with genuine poverty, we would feel like, yes, we should give. Now, how much we give, how often we give, those are all bigger questions. But in terms of the should we give, I think the answer would be, yeah, we kind of know we should. It was interesting doing the food bank collection yesterday at Tesco's in Watford. And it was really interesting, just standing there, and all you were doing was handing out a leaflet saying, if you can buy something for us, we'd be really appreciative. That's all we were doing. Nothing, no pressure. Nothing high pressure, nothing like, in your face, give it to us, you must give us food, you must give us money, just a request. And there were 3 types of people. There were the kind of just slightly disinterested, not really focused on the shopping, not really this and that. There were the engaged people like, yeah, I'll take one. And there were the people who were like heads down, deliberately avoiding, I must go past. And I know, I've been in this situation where I've been that person. I walked past, and because I've got other things to do, and I don't want to be bothered. But actually, it almost requires more effort sometimes to not to give to the poor and needy, because you have to make a conscious decision. I'm not going to give, and that it's a guilt thing. It's not an unnature to turn away people who are poor and needy. It's unnature to feel like we need to help, and that's why people feel guilty. They walk past and go, I don't want to give, I can't give, but I feel guilty about it. And that's not a that's just the way, that's our nature. And I think biblically, we're very clear on the biblical commands about giving to the poor and needy. There's some really clear ones here. Deuteronomy. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore, I command you to be open-handed towards your brothers and towards the poor and needy in your land. Way back when Israel was kind of being formed and the laws were being created, it was a core instruction of God that, you need to look after the people who are needy in your land. You need to do it. And in John 12:8, this is a verse I find particularly interesting. From Jesus, Jesus is saying, you will always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. Sometimes I find that problematic. Is Jesus saying that poverty is not solvable? Is Jesus saying that poverty, we can't solve it? And we'll come back to that in a second. In Acts 10, this is incredible. Cornelius is the person who introduces Gentiles to Christianity. Cornelius is the gateway for the Gentiles to be given the gospel. And he's primarily described as somebody who loves both God and the poor, who gives gifts to the poor. And when the angel comes to him, he says, your gifts to the poor and your prayers have been recognized by God. So these are, the poor and needy are close to God's heart and close to, to what we should be feeling as Christians. So let's go back to John 12:8. You will always have the poor with you, but you will always have me. And I kind of look at that and think, is Jesus saying we can't solve poverty? Is Jesus saying that this is an issue which is beyond our control? But I think, for me, I had to sort of step back and say, what do I think of with poverty? What do I think of needy? Do I look at poor people and think of them as different to me? Do I look at them and say, poverty, that's a problem that a section of society has? Poverty, is that a problem which is unsolvable? And it's a difficult one. But I think, for me, it's about the respect to have to other people. And see, poverty is an issue for everybody individually. And it's not necessarily going to last all the time. Poverty might be could well be a temporary thing. And it's us, where we can, and need as well can be a thing where we can get in and help ourselves. I look at myself, my situation last year. I lost my job unexpectedly. Sarah wasn't working. We were suddenly in a situation where our funds were running out with nothing in the in the pipeline. I was frantically looking for work, but I was looking for work as somebody who had who'd been sacked. It wasn't made redundant. I'd been sacked 3 months into a new job. It didn't look good on my CV. It's one of those sort of situations. I'm potentially facing a very different set of circumstances and Sarah was looking for work as well, but she hadn't been working for 7 years. Suddenly our situation completely changed. And it was, and in that time I felt like, oh gosh, it was a tough situation for us. But I think there were people in this congregation who reached out and helped us in that time, who gave us gifts, and it was really, it touched my heart and it made me feel, very, very loved. And I think that's what it's about. It's giving to people in their hour of need. And it's not just about poverty, it's about needs as well, the neediness of people. People might have health issues, people might have relatives who are dependent on them, people might have stress, people might be in situations where they're under a lot of pressure, people might, all these different needs that people have, and we have the ability to help them, to give our time, to give our resources, not necessarily just to give our money, but to be able to reach out and help people, to give our hospitality, all these sort of things. I think another example from my own family, my brother, I'm sure most of you know, my brother is autistic, and he is in residential accommodation up in the Midlands. That residential accommodation is very expensive, and it's covered by the government, which is great. I appreciate that. However, austerity is here, and money is being taken from different services all over the place, and so there's a real possibility that my brother's care might be unfunded. Which means that, what does that mean? That could have consequences for our family, could have consequences for my parents, and therefore consequences for me and my family. Those things can happen. Those things can change. Those things can happen. So I think, for me, it's about respect for people who have needs. It's not like there's a lump of people who are poor. There's a lump of people who are needy. That's always going to be there. Yes, there will always be people who are poor, but people don't necessarily always have to be poor. And we can help, and we can get involved and help change those people's situations. And that's what we're going to come back to when we talk about the work that Hope does in Afghanistan. We're going to talk exactly about getting into people's lives, changing them, and helping them to get into a situation where they're able to help themselves. So, moving on, giving to your friends and family. So why wasn't this the easiest all the time? So, I love my family. I love my kids. I don't like them all the time. So, I love you guys. But, if you see this in the future anytime. But, there are times when I get really wound up by my children. Even this morning, when they are running around screaming at the top of their lungs, and I'm thinking, our neighbours are going to hate us. It's it is too late. And I feel like, my goodness, all I want to do is, tell them off at the top of my voice as well, to add to the problem, not solve it. I think when I get home from my work, I've done my commute, I've been in London, I've, had my hour and a half commute on the way home, and I walked in the door and it's raining, and all I want to do is sit down and do nothing, frankly. I'm sure that nobody can relate to that at all. I'm sure it's just me. This is not. I think it's just unique to me. I've never heard it with men before. No, only me. Okay, that's fine. Just sharing about me. That's fine. It's fine. confessing. But it's that. I think there are times when it's easy to give to our family. There are times when it's hard. And there are times where we're tempted to, as men, sometimes we're tempted to be, to take our own back on our kids, And I think this is a great one for us dads, Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. I think it's easy for us to think like, you deserved it, you brat. Let me wind you up, Let me get my own back. Let me have some respect. But I think it's important that we remain giving to our family, remain giving to the people around us. We give them our resources, we give them our care, we give them our respect, we give them the care and attention they need all the time. And it's not just about our physical family, it's about our family in the church, our brothers and sisters, people around us. I love this group, but we are a very diverse set of characters here. And the brothers know my opinions on this one because I've said it numerous times. There are people whose opinions I do not agree with sometimes. Most times. Oh, it's okay. Okay, the truth is out most times. There are times we discuss about subjects, and I will definitely put my own views forward.
Never short of an opinion.
I'm never short of an opinion. Why did I do this again? Anyway, well, as I said, second level. Okay, so, and I think, 1 Peter 3 really speaks to us on this. It says, finally, all of you live in harmony with one another. Be sympathetic. Love as brothers. Be compassionate and humble. Man, every one of those words stings a little sometimes. Because I think, we look around and we can get wound up by each other. We can look and think, oh, come on, dude, you just got the wrong opinion. Or why did you say that? Or you're just being stupid. And we just get tense and wound up, and we don't want to live in harmony. We don't want to be sympathetic. We don't want to be empathetic. We don't want to love. We want to be right. We want to be heard. Be compassionate and humble. Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult, but with blessing, because to this you were called so that you may inherit a blessing. We look at this verse. And you think, oh yes, that's all about the world, that's all about us interacting with us. This was written to a church, to Christians, about Christians. So absolutely, this is for us as a group, about each other. And the encouraging thing about this is actually it's nothing new. It was way back at the beginning of the church. So it's a valid issue to be aware of. It's a valid issue to be working on as a fellowship and as brothers and sisters. But yes, let's work with harmony. Let's work with sympathy. Let's walk in the other people's shoes and really let's have a really unified sense together. So, moving on. Level 3, getting tricky. Giving to your work. I have a love-hate relationship with my work. Sometimes I love it. Sometimes I hate it. Sometimes I love the work, but I hate my boss. Sometimes, I don't hate my boss. So, is that what we're recording here? No, that's unfair. That's unfair. Backtrack. I can feel challenged sometimes in my relationship with my boss. There we are. Better way of saying it. Okay, that was good. Excellent. So, okay, right. So, but sometimes work can be challenging because in some ways, the things we just talked about previously, the idea of different opinions, different ideas, different priorities, we can think, why am I being asked to do these things? I know my experience, I can think of a dozen better ways of doing things, or I can't see the point of why I'm being asked to do this thing, or why am I being asked to do extra hours? What's the big plan? What's going on here? Why aren't I being paid the way I think I should be deserved? Why aren't I being promoted? All these things can really sap our energy and joy of life when we're at work. We spend a long time at work. We spend 8.5 hours of our day, more than half our work. Sometimes more than half our waking hours are either at work or going to work during the week. We spend a lot of time there. It's definitely worth thinking about. Let's go. So, Colossians 3:22-23. So the sharp-eyed among you will note that I've missed the start word here. The start word is slaves. Now, I'm fully aware that this is a grey scripture to use. And I know that there's a lot of, we've got to be careful when we talk about slavery and that sort of thing as Christians. But I think, let's look at the principle here. So obey your earthly masters in everything and do it. Not only when their eye is on you and to win their favour. In other words, don't be playing politics at work, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. This scripture takes out the boss, takes out the structure, takes out the politics and says, who cares who you're working for? Who cares what the situation is? God is your master. God is who you're working for. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as if working for the Lord, not for men. And absolutely, this is directed specifically to slaves. This is people who had no choice about what they were doing in a situation where where the political landscape was a lot different. But we can take from this, if this is what slaves were being told in unjust situations, in situations where they had no control or no agency, this is what we should be. How much more should we take this and kind of follow these principles and remove ourselves from that emotional ties to our bosses, emotional ties to that workplace, emotional ties to those responsibilities, and take those responsibilities and use them, but put them in terms of our service to God. So, level 4, giving to the government. Yes, indeed. Who here enjoys paying their taxes? Oh yes, lots of hands going out. Right. I remember. So Ollie, you might. This might be a bit fresher to you than it is to me, but I remember very clearly my first proper job, and I got my pay slip, and I was like, "Oh, this is it! My first proper job. I've got a pay slip." I ripped it open, looked at it, gross pay, net pay tax. I was like, no! I was being stolen from by the government. Oh my goodness, why is the government taking all my money? So, and this isn't going to be a long point, but I just want to go to remind us of what Jesus said in Mark 12:17. And Jesus said to them, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. Sorry, got myself a bit mixed up there. You know, you got to do it. It's not pleasant, it's not nice, but we have a government for a reason. There are things that we are provided with in this country. You know, at least we have the opportunity to change the government through voting. But you know, so we've got things better than it was back then. But you know what? We got to pay our taxes. We've got to pay our taxes and keep ourselves separated. I think we need to focus on on the godly things of God, and just pay our taxes and get on with it. And you know what? Let's talk about taxes here for a second. With our gifts today, we can get a little bit of that tax back by gift aid. We'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the practicals. But the government does give us back in some ways as well what we give to them. Level 5. Elite level, giving to our enemies. So, what are our enemies? Do we really have enemies these days? Are there people out to kill us? Apart from, insults from the front row. Do we really have people who are out to, destroy us? I think actually the thing for us today is people who don't like us. And, it's quite easy to find people who don't like you. You just have to make a comment on a Facebook post, and plenty of people will share their opinion about your opinion and yourself, and all those sort of things, or the things they think you stand for. And it's very easy to get very offended by those sort of things. Let's take a look at a verse here. So Luke 6:27-30. I put 36 for extra credit, so it goes a bit more about the context there. But the first bit here says, "But I tell you who hear me, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If someone strikes you on one cheek, turn to him the other also. If someone takes your cloak, do not stop him from taking your tunic. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back." This goes against a lot of what our current culture is telling us. And am I saying that we should accept abuse? We should say yes to abuse and that kind of stuff? No, that's not what this is saying. And that's not what it's saying. But at the same time, we have to be careful when we defend our rights and dignity that we are not throwing this principle aside. It's for us as Christians, as disciples, to lead the way on here. Nobody's saying to be a doormat. That's not what this is saying. But it is saying we treat people as they don't expect us to be treated. I had an interesting discussion at work the other day about HR and managing people. And one of the comments was said, don't talk to people in the way that you would want to be talked to. Talk to people in the way that they want to be talked to. And I think sometimes in our world today, we're very much about protecting our rights. We're told, protect your dignity, protect your rights, protect this, protect that. Be on the defensive. But again, going back to that previous verse we were talking about, be sympathetic. Look at what other people want. Understand that. And it's about surrender. Our clothes, I got plenty of clothes. Somebody hits me, if they don't kill me, it's a hit. It's unlikely to, it's not going to escalate. It's for us to be the better person. This is a tricky verse. I'm not going to say it's easy, but that's why it's in this section. It's hard. It's hard. When people don't like us, to like them back. And this is what it's saying. We're saying we like people who don't like us. That's what it's really saying. Give them the things they want to take to you, or the things you wouldn't want to give to them. That's what it's saying. Treat them with dignity. I think this is so hard that God does give us a little bit of a motivation. So I'm going to go to the next verse, Psalm 25, 21 to 22, and repeated for good measure in Romans 12:20. I love this verse because it gets to my motivation completely. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. I think, I think this is it, right? I mean, God knows that sometimes we need a little bit of motivation, and sometimes our motivations aren't the greatest. And I think I love this fact that this is repeated twice in the Bible. It's just like, actually, you're going to frustrate people that don't like you by doing the right things. So you can it's almost like a crazy little form of revenge that you can, by doing good things, you annoy other people, which is a crazy, crazy concept, but it's in the Bible. So I'm going to just leave it there. I'm not going to tell you too much about that. It's there, interpret it as you wish. So I have a bonus level after this. I did have another level, but I wasn't sure if our faith could take it. Shall I tell you what that other level was? I didn't put it in the sermon, but I just thought about it on my way in this morning. Bonus, secret, super duper hard level is giving to other drivers on the road. It did occur to me on the way here, remarkably enough. I'll let you dwell on that one in your own time. The faith, exactly, your faith. I know it challenges my faith, and I didn't feel comfortable in sharing it because. Anyway, let's go to a bonus level, which is giving to God. Now, this really is the key to all our previous levels. All our current issues, any problems we have with giving, really can be resolved in our attitude and heart to giving to God. So, in giving, what do we give? What is giving about? Giving our hearts, giving our time, giving our attention, giving our commitment, giving our resources. And let's have a look at Matthew 25:34. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. It's a self-feeding thing. We love God, we give to God. It's much easier for us to love and give to others. It's much easier. It's become a natural thing. We give to God. We give our hearts to God. We give our resources to God. We give to other people. That's just the way it is. And I think I want to go back to what I said at the start. Actually, for me, the enemy of me giving is me doing nothing. It's apathy. I get tied up a lot of the times with, not that I don't want to give, I want to give, but I feel like, I've got to do this. I've got to do that. How will this be interpreted? Is this giving good or bad? Or I get tied up in busyness, or I get tied up in things. I mean, sometimes for me, I need to learn from others in order to receive and in order to give. I think a great example of this is we were invited last week over to somebody's house, which was amazing. It was great, really, really giving. And I kind of felt like, I'm terrible. Personally, I'm terrible at initiating hospitality. I'm very bad at initiating kind of those things. I'm bad, and I was, coming up to Christmas, a lot of kind of Facebook things pop up. And it just occurred to me last night, there's a lot of people, a lot of my old friends, I just need to reach out to. I just need to be giving, see how they are, see what's going on in their lives, see how I can help them. Even if it's just a chat, just a discussion, just like, how you doing? Break through that kind of wall of busyness, break through that inactivity that I've got. I'm just sitting back and letting the world go past me. And for me, it's important for me to recognize when I'm being given to. And if we don't allow ourselves to be given to, we don't give people the opportunity to give either. We need to be reciprocal sometimes for people giving to us so they can give. And sometimes it's hard to, quote unquote, take charity. We don't like to accept things. It kind of, for us, sometimes it shows that we have a need that we don't necessarily like to admit that we have. And so that's the converse of giving. We also need to be prepared to receive when we need it as well. And in that way, we can build a real deep understanding of what giving and receiving means as well. Today, we have a great opportunity to give. And give to people who really do need some help, who do have an opportunity to change their lives by what we're going to give today. So the program that we're giving to today is for computer training and mentoring in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is a country, I was chatting about this with one of my work colleagues on Friday, because he has a friend who's actually something like the nephew of the vice president of Afghanistan. Fairly intense connection. And he was debating whether he should go to Afghanistan with his friend or not, because he's of ethnicity where it might raise questions if he goes to Afghanistan on future travel. I was like, yes. And I was reminiscing about my time in Afghanistan when I went out there. And the thing that I remembered about it was it's like a country with no history. It's a country with no kind of, people don't understand when their birthday is. They don't know when their birthday, they don't know when they were born. Documentation, when I went out there, it disappeared. So it's like the country is building up from scratch. You've got these towns, you've got these houses on the map, have no drainage, just no electricity, just kind of, it's very basic. So anybody who has any level of technical expertise or any level of training in this stuff is immediately in a much better situation in their life, in a much better situation to provide, to get good work, to provide for their families, to bring them out of that situation. And we've got a couple of examples of the people who this has been helped with. So the first one is Safiullah, I think, who's a survey officer. So as we can see here, he did a BBA and is very ambitious to improve himself in English and computer work. But he still, even though he'd done those education, still wasn't really up to speed on computer or computer work. So he came into the Hope program, and through that work, he's been able to get a salary of $500 a month, which is a lot in that area, and he's able to, and it's just. So this is just an example of how our work can improve the options for people going forward. Secondly is Abdul. He's a telephone operator. This is a man whose family, very poor family, agricultural background, just working really at a subsistence level. So he came to Kabul, and again, it's interesting, he's kind of come through that university thing, but that education out there is still not sufficient for them to sufficient for people to be experts in computers. We think about university stuff here, and you just like, oh yeah, everyone's got a laptop, it's all electronic, it's all there. Internet access is all part of life as a university student. It's not over there at all. So he came to our program, the Hope computer training, and the training that we give is free. So the money we give here enables us to run the program, run the courses, provide the materials, provide the training for free for these people. And after this has be able to get a good job, gets paid enough so he can send money home back to his family and ease the burdens there. Thirdly, there's Quasim, who's a personal manager. So this is, again, a situation where he's thrown into a situation through no fault of his own. His mother died, and there's no support there. So he's able to come to us, work, get his computer and English skills up and running, and is able to work as customer care operator. And because motivated and involved, he's able to get promoted, and again is able to change his life and change his outlook and change his prospects for the stuff that we're able to help with by the gifts we give today. So, I want to thank you in advance for the money you're going to give today. It's not all about money, but today we're able to give money today, and it's good for us to give our resources. And so, in terms of practicalities for today, so if you want to give by cash or cheque, we've got a bag we're going to pass around, and we have in that bag we've got some green envelopes. You want to hold those up? There we are. If you're using cheque or cash, just put your name and the amount and the details on the cheque. That'll enable us to get gift aid back. If you want to give anonymously, you don't have to put your name. If you're doing cash, that's fine. I want to give people the opportunity to give anonymously if they want to. That's fine. Online, we have a list. We have a link there. I will send this out by WhatsApp after the service, so everyone should be able to get that. Our guidance is if we're giving over £100, I want to give online. It's better to go through the bank transfer route because we pay 3% on the online giving page. So that's why I haven't done a big, QR code, because I just wanted to have a quick think about that. So if you're giving under £100, that's the best option for you, quickest option. And then bank transfer details are there. We'll keep this slide up at the end of the service, and again we will. But that'll be on the WhatsApp as well. So that'll go through. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this? All quite straightforward? Great. Fantastic. When does this need to be done by? ASAP, really. The bank transfer window is always open for us. We need to put but we're really looking forward to getting it by the end of the year. So if you're in a pay cycle where you want to give it at the end of December, beginning of January, that's will be fine as well. Don't worry about that. You can do that. If you want to give a couple of times over the month, we won't have the ability to take cash and cheques here at church. Today will be the way we do it. If you want to. Yeah, so talk to Bronwyn if you want to give cash, but you're not able to do it today, or a cheque, and you're not able to do it today, that's fine. Talk to Bronwyn, we'll work it out. It'll be fine. I think we want to sort of make sure it's all in by the end of the year, realistically, just so we can kind of get everything balanced out, so we know what funds are going out there. Great. Okay, so what do we have next after this?
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.